So would you write out parts for the band and stuff like that? Did you do stuff like that?
All of the records
That's
on,
one thing you couldn't do, right?
yeah, all the records on Atlantic. I wrote out the lead sheets and all the chord changes and all of that, and orchestrated some of the stuff too.
Uh-huh.
He knew how to do it, but in Braille, so he didn't do it. But yeah, I was his pen in a sense.
Well, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
And I bet I could just imagine that the cats that must have visited him in his like the back room of the Vanguard, the
Oh yeah.
Vanguard kitchen. I mean, I've been in some rooms where I didn't say anything because there was just too much greatness around me.
Uh-huh.
It was. I imagine you had a lot of experiences. Did people like Train come in here, hear him and visit, or I don't mean just Train Rollins and
Sonny Rollins came all the time, and they, and sometimes would be playing opposite to each other. And to the day that every time I saw him, Sonny Rollins, if he was across the room, he just wave at me and let me know that he knew the trombone. He wave at it. So you do that, he would get the slides. I said, yeah, okay, everything's cool. Yeah, but we played. They were very, very good friends. At Coltrane, to be honest with you, I tend to recall. No, by the time I got to New York, Coltrane had passed away, so they could have had a better relation. I came in '67 of August, but Coltrane had died in July. Another story behind that one. I was supposed to meet and sit in with Coltrane and Alice. Pharoah Sanders was my good friend, and we had been playing together and everything. He had told Coltrane about me doing the multiphonics, and they were very interested. And had I got out of school when I was supposed to, it would have happened. I was supposed to graduate in June of '67. I discovered, or they told me I hadn't taken an English proficiency. So I had to go to summer school that whole summer. And then Coltrane died July 17th, I think. And I didn't get to New York until August. But I was scheduled to sit in with them or play, some of my music or play music with them.
Yeah, I remember that day that he died.
Yeah.
1967, yeah.
Yeah.
And so you also, well, for one thing, if you look at the painting behind Dick right there, that's Dick is a really accomplished painter, and we would like to. We'll cover that. I want to know about how and when you started painting and all this. But just while we're looking at that particular painting and talking about great musicians, could you explain a little bit about this painting that's behind you there? And
let me see if I could show it a little bit better.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now that painting that you see is called "Round Midnight in Bright Mississippi." Okay. You see that red is that's the Bright Mississippi, and you see the black there. That's the Round Midnight side. And you see right in the middle, that's a T, because Thelonious was a very good friend of mine. And when people came into the dressing room and speaking to him, they would say, hey T. They wouldn't say Thelonious. How you doing? They would always say, hey T, how you doing, T? Blah, 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 blah. So that's a large painting. It's 4 feet by 5 feet in length. And those are two other small paintings. But yeah.
Beautiful. What was yeah, and you could almost feel it. You can feel the Round Midnight and the black for the dark painting and Bright Mississippi, which is
the red part.
Sweet George Brown.
Yeah.
So what was Thelonious? Did you? Walter Davis Jr. was a good friend of his too.
Oh yeah.
And he had periods where I guess he didn't speak very much, and he had some mental, uh, emotional difficulties at times, and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
But also, though, when he was right, I mean, people have told me he was a, a very intelligent, witty, and very, very nice man. And I got to know Nellie a little bit, and
Mm-hmm.
she seemed rather normal. I don't know what
Oh
normal.
yeah, yeah.
Normal. Rodney Dangerfield says the only normal people are the people you don't know well. you know, but but
Thelonious was an interesting guy. Uh, he had was it manic depression, something similar to that. You get agoraphobia. That means you don't want to go out your rooms. You stay in your one. You're very comfortable staying in one room. You don't want to go out the house. All those whatever. But he was a very very bright guy again, and we didn't talk a lot. There again, he would come into the dressing room and he'd just be pacing back and forth. Then he'd throw his arms out the elbow like that, and I would play the multiphonics. And he used to play that again. So every time he make that gesture, I'll play it. But then when people come in, he would be spinning around. And he threw their arms out. I know that's my cue to play the multiphonic. And he would grin his teeth, grin his teeth, say, check that out. So we had a really good thing going with that. He was very, very bright person. But every time he came up to you, he would put his hand on his mouth and talk to you like that. For some reason, that was just a habit, like, I want you to do this or something, blah, blah, blah. Hey, let me tell you this, that kind of stuff.
yeah, I never really got to meet him. Uh, I did see him and Monk together, him and Mingus together one night. Both went to hear Sonny Rollins.
Uh-huh.
It was just the four of us in the kitchen area there, just Sonny and Mingus and Monk and me.
Uh-huh.
I was there, and then I started to leave. Sonny went to go to the bandstand and play the last set, and I kind of followed Sonny out of the room, and I left Monk and Mingus in there by themselves. And then just as I left, they couldn't really see me, but I kind of snuck around the corner. And I said, I wonder what they're going to talk about. I wonder what's
I know
going
what you mean, yeah.
to. So I just wanted to hear what might go on with them. So Monk was sitting in the chair,
Uh-huh.
and the refrigerator in the kitchen was humming like your multiphonics,
Right.
and Mingus was in a hospital gown because he was over at St. Vincent's where they were checking him out, and he was actually diagnosed with the disease, the Lou Gehrig's disease that
Oh yeah.
got
Wow.
him in the end. But I
Yeah.
don't believe they hadn't made the final diagnosis yet. He was just in there for tests, but he still had the green hospital gown on,
Oh
St.
wow.
Vincent's on it, and he had snuck out of the hospital because St. Vincent's was just basically a block away from the Vanguard, right? Remember? It
Yeah, I know the St. Vincent right down the corner. Yeah.
was right there. So he
Yeah.
was there. He had snuck out of the hospital, and Monk was there, and he wasn't talking. He was just sitting there, and Mingus was trying to get Monk to go out. Come on, man, I'm going to go out and listen to Sonny. Come on, we can, we
Yeah.
out front hear the band. Monk was ignoring him, and he didn't do anything. He was just sitting there, like just listening. And Mingus finally, lost his temper for a minute. He said, "Well, damn it, Monk. Okay, I'm going out to see your Sonny. You can sit and listen to that damn refrigerator."
That's right. Yeah. Mom would come in sometime and prance for like 10 minutes, wouldn't say a word, I'm just sitting there. Then all of a sudden he'll stop and say, making a record is like writing a book. And I take these with very direct quote. He said, man, if you make it, it's going to be here longer than you. So you got to make sure that you make a good record. And he said, each cut on the record is like a chapter in the book.
This is Monk said this?
Yeah. He said they got to have some relationship. Okay.
Like a chapter in the book, yeah. So
Yeah, they got if he's writing like Underground Monk, that whole theme. So he's writing about all these things that are related to Underground, or everything he wrote, in that album. It's like writing a book, and that's Because back in the day, everybody think like "Song for My Father." You know, all of those songs and hard syllables, "Song for My Father" had something to do with his connection with his, you know, roots and everything.
Familial,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. Oh, a good example of Coltrane ballads. That was, you know, that was the theme. You know, like you had one beautiful ballad after another. It was a lot of things that made it a book. You know, make okay. I want everything there connect and had a meaning.
Yeah, well, I mean, another person that was very programmatic about music in general, since we both had relationships with Mingus, who was the next cat. I know that you were very, you know, you got to know Mingus well. You had like a lot of late night phone calls with him, and you know, probably knew him on a level that you know. I think you've got a quality to you, Dick. You know, which
Uh-huh.
that kind of makes people drop their facade. You know, I've noticed that with you. I've seen you in social situations, you know, and I've known that, like, you know, just it might be that beautiful smile of yours, but just how it disarms people, you know, like,
Yeah,
oh, you know, I know that I've seen a kind side of Mingus too,
yeah,
but I just never could know when that other Mingus was going to come out.
yeah. Well, I got to know him in that way, and he and I just said it. He told me things that was going to be between us until I could take him to the grave. But he everything that, you know, a lot of this situation where you hit people and that, and he would tell me why and what happened, and then sometimes, you know, I would agree, yes, I probably would have done the same thing. But he was like a really kind person. I'll tell you a good example. And when I was in his band, we rehearsed. The first rehearsal I came in, we were playing Black Saint and the Sinner Lady. Okay, so in our book, Eddie Burt was the other trumpet. It was only two trombone players, me and Eddie Burt. So it was in the second book. So I asked Eddie, should I solo? He said, yeah, go ahead and it's in your book. Bah, bah, bah. So I did. And then Mingus didn't say anything. And one night we were at the Vanguard and we were playing the blues in F. So he played blues in F. Then he went to B. That didn't bother me. Then went to F sharp. That didn't bother me. Then and then every guy that was playing started looking at the horn. They didn't know what we were doing. And Johnny Cole said that's what Mingus would do when he gets mad at you. If you play a solo, he would start changing keys underneath you. You know, kind of, and that was the way he would kind of like punish you or just test you. So anyway, when I got home that night, I was married at the time. My phone rang, and my wife said, "Here's your friend." He handed it to me. Dick Griffin, this is Charles Mingus. Oh, your apology. I said, "What?" Oh, Mingus, what you want me an apology for? Man, I was mad at you because I'm gonna tell you why. You sending a guy, and he was right. You sending a guy to sub for you, and he wasn't as good as you. Don't you ever do that again. He said, always send in Garnett Brown or somebody that's really much better than you. See, and he said, because you make the leader think you're scared he's going to take your job. So I said, okay, I take that. That was the right advice. You hit it right on the head, you know. And then he said, next thing you know, uh, you're the only person that impressed me tonight, you know. You know, those keys didn't bother you or nothing. You're the only person. I said, wow, you know, because I don't have perfect pitch, but I've got pretty good, you know, relative, and I've been kind of respected for my ears, and especially with the blind guys I know, RAHSAAN and all that stuff. So, and he said, man, do you want in that thing? Do you want to draw? I said, no, I'm good, because at the time I wasn't my former wife, God rest her soul, she was teaching school. I was teaching school, so I never really got into that needing money to pay my rent, that kind of feeling, you know. So then after that, he would call me just about, I'm telling you, every night almost. And we talked about,
Just to talk.
yeah, just talk about life and family and all kinds of situations and everything. And I learned, and then another thing, I started playing my compositions to him, and he was so encouraging. He said, man, why don't you do that and do a record date now? He put me on his level. don't even record comes and wouldn't even listen, don't even want to hear nothing about me. You know, I turn my name off. But man, I like the way you do that. And we started talking about how he writes, and every song he writes is like a soap opera. You know, all those songs, and he told me the story behind them. We talked about that.
That's
The
what I mean. That
fisherman wife, the
he's
fisherman
very
wife is just a
dramatic.
bunch of, yeah. See, he told me all the stories behind those. The fisherman wife is just a bunch of the guy that has slippers and stuff. And the essence was the guy would go out of town fishing, and her boyfriend would come by, and she'd meet him at the door with her slippers on and a robe. That's what that whole song was about. And all those those songs, every song he wrote had those kind of meanings behind them.
Yeah, I asked him once. I said, Charles, that I love that song. You know, orange was the color of her dress, then blue silk. And
Right.
I said, what was the blue silk? He says, blue silk was the color of her drawers.
Uh-huh. That's right.
He
It's
said,
that, that's as straight up as he could be.
that was, you know, and
Yeah.
yeah, so he was, yeah, and it was interesting because in classical music, he liked Richard Strauss, for example.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
that was like very heavily programmatic music. It had a hero, it had it had a whole
Right.
narrative to it, you know. So that's what when you were mentioning that idea that there was a plot to it, or almost like
Well,
a
yeah,
novel.
every song had a story, you
I
know.
mean, the Black Saint and the Sinner Lady certainly was a narrative. You
Yeah.
I don't know.
And Faith and Fall. Dum bum 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 dum bum dum bum dum bum bum.
Yeah.
Fables for
So
Fathers,
why
all
are
that.
you so ridiculous? He used
Yeah.
to have his own little lyric to it too,
Yeah.
you know. And well, that was wait, was Faubus the Mississippi governor, right?
No, Arkansas.
Alabama. George Wallace was Mississippi.
No, Wallace was Alabama. Ross Barnett was Mississippi. Fathers was Arkansas.
Faubus was Arkansas.
Fables for Fathers in
Yeah,
Arkansas.
it was right. And because there was, you could buy trading cards, racist governors. You know, I'll trade
Oh
you
yeah.
Lester Maddox for George Wallace. You know, I mean, you could.
Yeah.
I lose track of who was what state. I just know they were all a drag.
Oh yeah.
But now also you had a long gig or a pretty long gig at the Apollo Theater in the house band there.
Yeah, I was there from around 68 until they closed in 70, 71, somewhere of that for the first time. And I got a chance to play with some of the top R&B artists of the time, you know, all the Motown guys, the Four Tops, the Temptations, the OJs, and Isaac Hayes when he was really big, and I really loved going out and playing behind him, and Marvin Gaye, and I got a chance to play with Ella Fitzgerald too. 2 weeks at the it was called the Americana Hotel.
Uh,
You remember on the 7th Avenue.
yeah, and you play with Lena Horne too, right?
Yeah, I did Lena's show. I did the Broadway show with Lena. That was about 2 or 3 months. You know, because Craig Harris, he had the show and he left and he gave it to me and I played that last part of it.
Oh,
Oh, she was the sweetest person. She treated everybody like they were her daughter's a son, you know. She was so nice, man.
oh, that's beautiful.
I met two, I think, now that I think of maybe. Lena was one of the greatest, sweetest person. Marvin Gaye was the next, probably the first one. Because Marvin, every night when he finished playing, he'd come down, look you in the eyes, and shake your hand and say, man, I appreciate you playing for me. And he and Freddie Wakes, my dear friend, they had a lot in common because Freddie taught him a lot about playing the drums. Because Marvin could play piano, he could play drums, he could play a lot of instruments. And so when we would finish a show, he would come down and we'd have these conversations. What I liked about him, he knew exactly what we were talking about, pick it up right where we left off, you know. And that was just the thing to do with me.
Conversation. He pick up the conversation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Whatever we were talking about, we were talking about something with Freddie. You know, he wasn't talking at you. He was talking to you,
Hmm.
and that's what I liked about him. Very sincere person.
Now, Donald Byrd was also an influential person in your life. What was?
Yeah. Now here's Donald Byrd. Okay, when I first came to New York in '67, I hadn't even gotten married at the time because I got married in '68. So I come with my, master's degree earned, and I started playing with RAHSAAN. And I was just, just playing around, playing gigs, and the gigs were not paying a whole lot of money. But if you have teachers like, and you could make $100 a day, way back in the '60s, and so I was playing. They had this group called Jazz Interaction,
Oh, okay.
and Joe Newman and his wife Rick Moore would have this organization. They would go around to the schools during the day and give concerts. And Willie the Lion Smith was on there. We were on the same show. So I'm here. I played the little gig with RAHSAAN. I was thinking it was paying like $30 or something. It was in the double digits. So I looked up and there's Donald Byrd there. I said, Donald, what you doing over here? He said, man, I teach here. He said, man, I can teach all here all the weekend and play a gig at the club at night. And then I said, well, I just got my master. He said, boy, you better come down and get your license, come start teaching with me. And that's what I did. The very next day, got my substitute license. And we used to ride for a whole year during the school year in his Jaguar, his gray Jaguar, because they parked it. Miles and Donald Byrd used the same garage, still on 79th Street right there off. And we would drive over. And I got so many stories. I should write a book on this, just to drive that from a daily basis, 5 days a week, driving over about an hour drive there and an hour drive back. And do you know what we talked about? All the details and all the ins and outs and the goods and bads of the music world for a whole year. And how tight we were. And Don was at that time, U.B. Blake was still alive, and U.B. Blake maybe around the corner, right there where we were teaching, in Ocean Hill, Brownsville, I remember. And he would go to U.B. Blake's house for lunch and sit and talk with him. And then I come back. Yeah, I went over and I hung out with old man Blake. That's what we found. And I never did. I never called up, took that out. Yeah, I should have had, Yeah. But, yeah, so that's how Don and I got so tight. And, because, that's what, if you like, and those are the best conversations I've ever had with anybody I can think about. My mother, I couldn't sit her down and get a conversation with her to talk about hardly anything, but I get her and take her drive. Okay, we're going for a ride. It takes about 30 minutes for us to go to our destination, and that's when we had our best conversation. I asked Mama the question that, that I would have her undivided attention, and she couldn't swim out of it or whatever. We just talk, But and if you think about it, most good conversations or good information comes when two people are in a car. There's no planning.
Vehicle. Yeah, I mean, I've had some on trains as well.
Yeah,
but there's Europe on a train, and you're in that compartment, and you're just
no microphones, no, nothing's planted. You can say what you want to say, and know it ain't gonna leave the car. In general, and you can ask them the question that you've been wanting to ask them. Don't have the courage when you're not looking at them. You're on the road. You can say things. You can ask the question, and they, rather than walk up to them and ask them and looking eye to eye. Those questions.
And maybe the motion of the car is conducive in an unconscious way to the flow of the conversation.
Right.
Moving, and so the conversation moves as well. You kind of, I'm not quite defining it well, but perhaps it's.
Well, I understand, but the thing is, they know that ain't nobody overhearing the conversation. You know, and nobody sitting in the car with you, or so it's a really, really private conversation.
That's true.
So no somebody in the next room can overhear what your answer is or anything. You can really open up.
Yeah. Now, there's just a couple of other things I wanted to ask you about while we got you here.
All right.
Your relationship, you were for a short time. I think you didn't stay that long because you had that Apollo gig, but you had some experience with that Thad Jones, Mel Lewis band in the early stages of it, or middle early stages. I believe, when was that, in the '60s?
I'll tell you exactly when it was. It was from 68 around to 70, 71. Because my son was born in 1970. And I remember him dedicating the child that's born to my son that night. It was a Monday night my son was born, and I came in, and I said, man, my wife just had gave it a boy. And he played, a child is born.
By the way, is your son your only child? Is that your
only child? Yeah, and he's my only child. He lives in Teaneck, New Jersey now, and he's pretty active in the scene here. But he's very good at reading and playing shows. So he does Broadway shows. He's subbing in the Winter Garden. Back to the Future is, I think, that show there. He's doing that, and he did something at Lincoln Center.
You a trombone player too?
No, his drums.
He's a drummer.
He plays drum. He did something at Lincoln Center Tuesday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he lives in Teaneck, New Jersey. He lives in
Teaneck. I almost lived there. Rufus Reed and Jamil Nasser, all those cats. I used to call it Bass Player City.
Right.
All those great bass players. All lived in Teaneck.
Sam Jones, Jimmy, what's his name? Jimmy Rouser.
Ray Drummond. Ray Drummond.
Ray Drummond, yeah.
And but back to the Thad Jones, Mel Lewis experience. So you were playing at the Vanguard with them. That was pretty much their only gig then. I mean,
now I went to Chicago with them because Richard Davis was in the band, and I remember I went by Richard Davis' house, to visit his mother, and I took a picture of Richard and his mother on the front porch, and I gave it to Richard. God rest his soul, he's not with us anymore.
I love Richard, man.
Yeah, but I took that picture and I gave that picture to him. So that was the last picture. He said the last picture that he had of his mother.
We had this band with Richard and Freddie and Walter Davis.
Yeah.
And so one night we're on the road, and Walter Davis and I had a very congenial, that was kind of beyond congenial. We would throw insults at each other and all kinds of ranking, like this and that. And he was often late for the gig, and so if he's taking a nap, you'd have to break his door down to get him there. Because Humphrey, we call him Humphrey. Those of you who don't know, it was really late. So I'm knocking on the door. I'm in this hotel. And I'm on the hotel room door. Come on, fat ass, get up. Come on. I'm swearing at him. And, come on, get your lazy ass, blah, 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 this and that. And then finally the door opens and it's Richard Davis.
Oh, wow, yeah.
He was doing his meditation. He meditated.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And I didn't know him that well at that time. We'd played some together, but, I didn't know him nearly as well as I knew Walter. And it was so beautiful. Richard got a raised eyebrow. He says, yes. And then I realized I'd asked the desk, what room is Mr. Davis in? And I had two Davises.
Oh, wow.
It hadn't occurred to me. And Richard cracked up laughing. He said, that was quite a spirited greeting.
Right, yeah. Yeah, he was a really beautiful guy, man. And one of the ladies that I knew when I came to Chicago to visit was somebody that he went to elementary school to, and I hooked him up, and they got a chance to hook up with each other. And Clifford Jordan and Richard Davis, they all lived in the same neighborhood and went to the same school, because this lady, Jean, she knew both of them. I was telling you about my art thing that I'm doing.
Yes.
And I just, I was inspired because of the conditions of the world. And I didn't think I'd ever see the world as with so much hate and wars and just destruction all over. And so I did this series of paintings to reflect on what I feel should be said and done. And the group of paintings called Peace, Hope, and Love for the Human Race. Let's get past all of this separation and start to see what we got in common. And we have so much in common.
Amen.
And you know, the first race is the human race, and that's probably the only race. You know, we have got set up where I'm this, but you're the this and you're the that. But we're all human beings, first of all. And let's go not past that. So this whole theory of peace, love, and hope for the human race is trying to pull everybody together more. And I'm just only using 3 colors because they're going to all embrace with a band-aid around love. Peace, hope, and love, okay? The peace is the dark. It's when the quiet at night, you know, it's very peaceful. We go to sleep, everything's quiet. The hope is when the sun comes up and the flowers are blooming and the trees are growing and things are just moving, and that's the hope there. That's the light. And the red is the blood that's running in anything that's alive. Snakes, frogs, buzzards, anything that's alive, you know, all the animals and all the seafood, sea animals and elephants, whatever. Red blood runs in most human beings or anything that's alive.
The life force.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I call it peace of it. And I'm only using 3 of these colors in my paintings. I think I can show you this
Want
one.
to show us some of these? Yeah.
Yeah, you see that one right there? That was on the right. That blends at bottom. That's what I'm using. Just those 3 colors.
Well, you're right. We can't close up to that, can we?
We can. I'll take this off. And I'll put it right up close. Can you see it now?
Oh, yeah.
So those are only 3 colors.
Black, red, and white.
Yes. And I got a whole series. I got some large ones as big as 3 feet by 6 feet, 6 feet by 4 feet, 4 feet by 5 feet, a whole series.
Wow.
So
And you're looking for a gallery, like in other words, you're.
yeah, I've been acting around. So I decided that I'm gonna rent a gallery myself and do it around March. But I'll near that time I'll have the more details as to where and when and how. But I've decided that I'm not going to do all this work and not be seen.
No, you have to be seen. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And when did you? Let's just talk a little bit about when you started to paint. When did this? I know I read something that you said that you had given it up for a while, and then when Freddie Waits passed, it inspired you to continue. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. I was good at drawing, sketching and drawing in high school. So, but when I got to college time and I had to major in something, I majored in music rather than art, and I could have gone both, going in, but I just love music more. So I just didn't say anything. I just kind of looked at art and then all of a sudden, I was in Paris in 1986. And this dream came to me about these colors and everything. And I was just clear in my mind that I should start painting again. So, and I was going to study because, I thought that in order to be into art, you just couldn't pick up a paintbrush and start doing stuff and didn't know what you were doing. So I worked on some things there, and then I decided, well, okay, when I get back to the States, I'll start to do it. And that was in '86 when I was in Paris. Then my friend Freddie Wakes passed in '89. And I said, oh my God, he will never know that I'm a painter. If I don't get started, no one would know. And that was almost like kind of dedicating that starting of the painting to his leaving my life as a friend. And then I just started, and there was a lady named Joanna Ross. She used to come and she would paint live with a knife and did live paintings at all the clubs. And she encouraged me to put my work out there. And she passed away, so I had stopped. And then a guy named Anana Silver, he had an organization called Global Vision. So he called me up and said, Dick, I want you to come be a part of that. So that started me back to painting again. Then I met another very, very well good friend of mine, Ed Clark. And then he gave me some lessons. He said he never give lesson to anybody, but he made an exception for me. And then I got into
the artist himself. He's a painter.
Oh, the great painter, Ed Clark. He's gone now, but his work is off the hook, and the people paying very hefty prices to own his work. So, but after I started studying with him, a corporation bought 20 of my paintings at one time.
Wow, that's great.
And that was in 2000. And then I just was never looking back from then. I got just deeper into it.
I think I remember running into you around that time, and you telling me that you had sold a bunch of paintings and that you were very happy about that.
Oh yeah, by me studying with Ed Clark, and he showing me some things. When I changed my style and went in that direction, that's when I sold 20 at one time, large one. They were all 4 feet by 5 feet and 3 feet by 5 feet. They were all large. And it was a store in that garment district where they had a lot of the designers had rented the spaces there for their showcases. And it was on the 10th and 11th floor, 10 on one floor and 10 on the other. So for 15 years, I used to take people over there and show them my work,
Wow, that's beautiful. Did you, just one or two little musical things that I wanted to ask you? Well, I have you here. When you were in Chicago, you were telling me the story about Richard Davis and this lady that went to high school with Clifford Jordan.
Yeah, yeah. Jean is her name, and she said, Richard. I mean Clifford. Cliffy. They called him Cliffy, and Richard Davis had a crush on her. She was a very beautiful lady. And the last time I saw her, she said they still in touch, but she was a little bit overbearing. Some people they're a little too bossy.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
When you get to know somebody.
Yeah.
It can be.
I know, but see the nurturing quality, because the 9 months that they communicate with you before you come to the world to that be known, and then the many years before they can even let you get out to kind of even be involved in communicating with anything else. So that's just a natural thing. Everybody tends to be closer to their moms than their dads because of that. That's a natural thing.
Yeah,
And
there is that. Now, with my children, I talk to them all the time in the stomach. I sang so much to my oldest daughter, who's a singer-songwriter, that when she was born, the nurse actually took her in her arms, she said, this one, she was a German nurse. I mean, she was, she said, she's singing. Listen, she is singing. And she was, ooh. And, so, she was born, we played a lot of Sarah Vaughan records while she was actually in the, when
in the womb,
was in labor. But then every day I sang into the belly. And, so that was my contact, But, oh yes, one other thing. Did you know Nikki Hill in Chicago?
No, I didn't. I knew of him. See, the people I knew was John Gilmore, and who else? There was a guy named, a very good trumpet player, I forget his name. But most of the Sun Ra, see, there was Sun Ra, there was John Gilmore, there was Pat Patrick, and these are guys. There was a guy named Tom Archer. He was a saxophone player. So uh, Zach Gigenet and I had the pleasure of playing with Tom Archer. We had that in common, because Jack was a piano player and a drummer.
Right, Jack Dejournette,
So,
right?
yeah, so when I went to Chicago, I was trying to play piano as well. But I mentally, I got that trombone thing working with Sun Ra. I forgot it. I just said, oh, no, I want to be the trombone player. And that's why I started concentrating on trombone.
And with Booker Little and Frank Strozier, they'd already left Chicago when you got there?
Yeah.
They were already gone. And
They
George
were all
Coleman,
gone.
too. That whole Memphis contingent was there, right?
Yeah, the Maven guys, they were there around 50 somethings, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because my first trip there was 59.
One other story, and then I think we can wrap this up.
Well, one that the band that I worked with consistently for the longest was Abdullah Ibrahim. I worked with him for 5 years.
Oh, yes, let's talk about him.
Yeah, that was a really great experience to be just with their band, and just only income, or mostly income, was from that band, and had such a good. I used to sit there and enjoy his music as much as the audience while I was playing. He was such a great composer, and the music sounds so good.
Who was on that band when you were on it? Like some of the cats.
Okay, the band was Ricky Ford, Carlos Ward, Charles David, and myself. Esset Okun Esset played bass, and Lee played some, and what's his name? David Lee played,
David
and
Lee.
then and Cecil McBee did recording with that band. But Ben Rowley and Mumford, what's Jimmy? I think Mumford. He played drum, but it was more or less Ben Rowley's gig most time. But that was a great band. I mean, had the best fun. Got paid well. We traveled. It was just like, we come into New York and we do Sweet Basils for a couple of weeks, and bang, bang, and we been back out again to all over Scandinavia.
I heard you guys over at Basil.
Yeah, we would do 6 weeks there, 2 weeks at a time. 2 weeks in the summer, 2 weeks in the winter, and 2 weeks in the fall. Whatever. Whatever said.
Now, you were also in the road company production of Sophisticated Ladies.
No,
the New York production.
The Wiz.
The Wiz. Well, with Hank Jones, which were you in with Hank?
Now, Hank was on Broadway. I subbed and the one on Broadway. Because I was played the Wiz, the original Wiz, for the whole 5 years that it was there. And I was subbing in it because Jack Jeffries, that plays the bass trombone, he was going to law school. So he would take all Wednesdays and Saturdays. Those were the matinee days. So I would get 2 shows on Wednesday, 2 shows on Saturday. So I was playing 4 shows and he was playing 4 shows, you see. But it was his gig. So, yeah. And then I went on the road with the Wiz. That was around 77, 78. And but the Broadway subbing, I played a Broadway show called Me and Bessie, and that ran almost 2 years. That was the story of Bessie Smith. And then the Hopkins was a singer, and that was at Edison Theater.
Right, I remember.
So that was a good. That was the show that when I was married and we bought a house, we were able to qualify for buying a house in Teaneck and all that, because the show paid steady well.
Yeah.
And
but you mentioned that Hank had a ritual.
Oh yeah, let me tell you this.
I do Hank pretty well.
Okay.
Observed.
I can't tell you what it was because it was a ritual.
You said it was deep.
It was deep. It was deep, and he did it. Well, nobody was supposed to see him doing it. He did it every night before he played.
Who was supposed to see him? Nobody was supposed to see him.
Nobody would see him do it. It's almost like I can say it's close to somebody saying a prayer or doing a libation. Okay, that's all I can say. That's as deep as I can say. But he did it every night in a little private place, off, to the thing, and he would go to like you might see somebody just saying, uh, praying or saying something to themselves and doing something in a ritual thing that he knew that when nobody would see him do it.
Uh-huh. But you saw him do it. You kind of.
Yeah, I saw him do it.
Well,
It's like, well, okay. For instance, if you play, sometimes some people get up there and say a prayer. Those like just a prayer, whatever them do, and then whatever, something similar to that, and then they go up on the stage. Otherwise, but they don't do it where they take a little somewhere where nobody's supposed to see them doing it. It wasn't like a show. It's just a thing that he did.
huh.
Like.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I wonder what it was.
It's all that. If I can't tell you too much more, then I would tell you what it was. But it's just that, and but
Hank was a very spiritual guy. He was
they're spiritual guys. It's just like somebody saying a prayer before they go up and play, and at a certain particular time, just before they play, they do a certain thing.
Now an interesting thing about Hank that also kind of impressed me about you too is Hank never smoked a cigarette, never had a drink, never smoked a joint or did any drugs in his entire life.
No.
I asked him once how he managed to do that. He, in fact, did not join Charlie Parker on the road. He was also asked to go with Miles.
Mm-hmm.
Those cats asked him to be part of the band.
Yeah, I know.
And he said he was afraid because he didn't think he was strong enough to resist all the temptation. And he said to me once, he said, Bob, had I ever started that stuff, I am such an extreme person that I would have been the worst of all of them.
Yeah, I'm the same thing. I know that about me too.
I've never seen you really
indulge.
indulge.
I don't do it. No, I don't do it, and I probably have an addictive personality. I know that if I did, like he just said, I would probably be one to the extreme. So I don't have the, I don't do it. Yeah.
Now that I think of it, I remember that we've been in situations together, played at jam sessions, been to parties, various things over these last half century, and I said, I remember Dick Griffin.
I never see me with a glass or nothing in my hand.
Nothing. No, or smoke a joint or any of the other powders, pills, and potions that accompany this life sometimes.
Yeah.
So, that's Dick. You're just as fresh as ever, and it's wonderful to see you going through life and in such good shape, and it's great that you've taken care of yourself, and life has given you back beautiful things in return. So
I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you so much, man.
You're welcome. I congratulate you on a life well lived.
Yeah, and it says I still got some more to come,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone, it's been really a total pleasure to have the great Dick Griffin with us today. And I've had a thoroughly enjoyable time. And once again, thank you very much. And I'd like to thank Jesse Kaiser for having helped hook this up and all the necessary media stuff that she does to keep this going. And we hope that you like this, and if you like this, you will give us what they call a like.
Yes, I appreciate it.
That helps us keep this going for you. So the more support we get from you, it doesn't cost you anything. So we do appreciate that. Once again, great to have Dick Griffin with us today. And we thank you all for watching. And we say for now, got some great guests coming up. Goodbye and God bless you.